We actually have what appears to be definitive proof that God isn't real. Let me explain. Jamie Coots is this guy who's a snake-handling preacher in Kentucky. And he was also on the National Geographic reality show, Snake Salvation, where they covered the lives that these people are living. I've never seen the show, but I'm actually kind of interested now to see just how crazy this stuff is. And what his show and his congregation focused on was a particular Bible passage that suggests that poisonous snake bites won't harm those who are anointed by God. Well, on February 15th, this guy was bitten during a service on his right hand. He had previously lost half a finger to a bite and survived. According to his son, which just to be clear, I don't believe this, but according to his son, he said his dad had survived 8 bites before. That's all really up in the air, because what do you mean? Were they venomous snakes? Were they poisonous? If they were poisonous, he didn't survive it, and they weren't poisonous. Or was it, something different that you're interpreting as a bite, or are you just lying? Because I'll tell you one thing for sure. If he was bitten 8 times by a poisonous snake, he didn't survive. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's what his son says. Well, the dude keeps 74 poisonous snakes in his home. And he'd actually been arrested for that before. One time he was trying to cross a border with these poisonous snakes, and I think it was Tennessee, stopped him like, "What are you doing? You can't just fucking come in here with poisonous snakes like it's nothing. Stop." And he's like, "No, it's my right to do all this. I'm an American man, and these are my snakes." Okay, so he keeps 74 snakes in his home. He does he's created a whole career around being the venomous, poisonous snake handling preacher, right? And he refused medical treatment when he got bitten by one of these snakes. Okay, so remember, what his faith says is, if you believe in God enough, if you pray, you're going to be all right if you got bit by the snake. That's what it says in the Bible. He died. He got bit by a snake on, I think it was his middle finger, and he died. In fact, there was an ambulance that showed up, and paramedics showed up to his house because somebody in the congregation was smart enough to call the police. So what happened is, at the church, somebody called, the ambulance showed up to the church. He had already left to go home because the service was over. They show up to his house. They're knocking on the door. They're like, "Okay, we're just going to explain to you scientifically what's going to happen to your body if you don't accept, the anti-venom, if you don't accept the treatment." He's like, "I'm fine. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to pray to Jesus." And they're like, "No, you don't get it. But the type of snake, it was a rattlesnake that bit him. Here's what happens. This system of the body shuts down. This problem's going to happen. And the next thing you know, within X amount of time, you're dead." He's like, "No, I believe in Jesus. I'm going to get through this." Yeah, he died. Now, the extra insane part is there was also a woman at his church who had died previously from a bite. And there were all types of creepy stories that, people at the church used to cover it up or act like it wasn't that big a deal, or, oh, she chose to do it. And there were conflicting stories. Some say she wanted treatment and they made her not get it. Others said she didn't want treatment. I don't know about any of that, but that was a serious thing, a woman dying from it. And in 2012, I should mention, another snake-handling pastor died in the same situation, refusing treatment after being bitten, which leads to the conclusion, okay? God's not looking out for you. Jesus isn't looking out for you. If you get bitten by a poisonous snake, you're going to die. That's how it works. There's this thing called biology. There's this thing called science. There's this thing called reality. There's this thing called medicine. There's a reason why we have hospitals. If praying actually cured people, we wouldn't have hospitals. We would have prayer centers that when people go in when they get cancer and they walk out a week later feeling just peachy. But that's not the situation. There's no such thing as mind over matter. There's no such thing as prayer over reality. You either get medical attention through empirical, science-based stuff, or you don't. And you didn't, and you paid the price. So this is my plea. Number one, I think this is definitive proof that definitely the God of their Bible doesn't exist, but I go further and say just God doesn't exist, right? But furthermore, I'm pleading to anybody who might believe in this or have lingering thoughts about it, that, I'll override it by force of willpower, or I'll override it by prayer. That shit doesn't work, man. That shit doesn't work. You need to accept reality and get help from the experts when something happens. I know it sounds like a a thing where everybody listening to our show is like, duh. But there are a lot of people out there that don't agree with us, guys. There's a lot of people out there, in the Bible Belt like, oh, liberal hooey nonsense, secular atheist telling me what to do. I'll tell you, I disagree with him now. But look, I'm telling you that the guy died. This is a fact. This is reality. Nobody questions how faithful and devout he was. So don't be stupid, because that's what this is. This is fucking stupid. And this goes extra for the jackasses who don't treat their kids because of their personal religious belief. How many stories have we done where kids die because they have pneumonia and they didn't get taken to the fucking hospital? Okay, because their parents believe in faith healing. All right, look, it's one thing if you do it to yourself, which you shouldn't do. Okay, but it's even worse if you do it to other people. So let's wise up, man. It's 2014. It's too late for this garbage.